is my fourth podcast in which I will be discussing titles a bit further and discussing how which titles, we intend to use for our coursework and where we got the ideas from. As you may know, there are very common conventions of titles in horror movies, such as using only capital letters, using fonts that drip with blood. Very often, or most of the time, the fonts are also in a reddish color. In this case, this film opening is from Insidious, so there are not that many titles, but yet there will, like, the main title of the film will come up in only a few seconds, and there you will also be able to see how they decided, or how the producer decided to put it in big capital letters to denote that this is a horror movie. Also, you can't hear it right now, but they also added a non-diegetic soundtrack, scary soundtrack at the end, and flames under it so that it would signify hell a bit. Yeah, there you can see it. The next movie is The Cabin in the Woods, which we will be looking at. In The Cabin in the Woods, they did this main title, which is huge in capital letters as well, whereas these small titles of the actors are in capital letters, but less in the middle of the screen, and they fade out so that you get the different titles of the actors. The next movie we will be looking at is the different titles from the different Friday the 13th movies. I analysed one Friday the 13th movie, which was the very first one. I think it is from... Which year is it from? It's from 1980, yeah. So that's the very first one that I analysed. However, they did use different titles, as you can see here. They did it once with white fonts, but also every single time it was in big capital letters, whereas the new Friday the 13th movies, like Part 3, they did it in big capital red font, like this one. The way we chose our font was by going to this website called thefont.com. When we came to that website, we found all the different themes of movies. So, for example, in our case, we then decided to go for horror, since our coursework is a horror slasher film. And then it came up with all these kinds of fonts. So, Double Feature, True Lies, Face Your Fears, Curse of the Zombie. So it had many different ones, and then also the Friday 13th one and Bloodlust. In the beginning, we were going for Bloodlust because we thought it was cool that there was blood running down. However, it wasn't dripping, and in the end, it didn't really look that good. So we decided to change it to Friday the 13th. And Friday the 13th movies have a lot in common with our films as well. Which is why we ended up choosing that. First of all, the Friday the 13th movie has a lot in common, since it has the exact same slasher convention, meaning that it has the same masked psychotic killer, which means that, which we also have, so like this one called Leatherface. And our killer also had a bit similar mask to that one, so we thought that the Friday the 13th font would therefore be suitable for our coursework. However, we didn't decide to put the font right in the middle of the screen because we thought it would be too dominating over the screen, and we therefore decided to put it more on the bottom left side or right side, so that our audience could focus more on what was happening on screen, so that they could see that the killer was coming into the basement, and so on. So yeah, therefore we have chosen what we have chosen, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and yeah, thank you very much for listening.